I'm Cassidy Ford, and this is the Franchise Ticker Podcast. It's a home for people, whether you are in the franchise community or not, to live freely in that place where our personal and professional worlds intersect. Welcome to the conversation. Hey guys, this is Cassidy here. Our inaugural episode recently aired where I sat down with Michelle Rowan, who is the president and COO of Franchise Business Review. Michelle and I dove some into my journey and set the stage for the podcast and of the franchise ticker movement in general. I promised to break it down a little bit further in a special green room episode, so here we go. I have Tourette syndrome. Tourette's, and by the way, I may abbreviate it as TS sometimes, is a neurological condition that causes unwanted movements and sounds. I am also obsessed with franchising. The business model, I love the people, achieving the American dream, and I love everything. I have found over the years that my personal and professional worlds really bleed into each other. I created the franchise ticker movement as an encouragement for all of us to really just let those two worlds collide. Something has been itching inside of me for a very long time. It itched and it scratched and it hollered out loud until one day I decided to do something about it. This is how the franchise ticker was born. And I look at this as our opportunity to not hold back. This podcast, along with Twitter and Instagram, have just launched. You can follow at Franchise Ticker. Some of you may be also watching the live recorded regular podcast episodes. Not this one. Is not recorded live, but the videos are on the Ticker's YouTube channel, where I'll be uploading different content each week. It may be the podcast, it may be just a stupid thought of the day, it could be Whiskey Wednesday videos, a lot of different stuff that's going to be posted on that YouTube channel. And then in summer of 2021, the official Franchise Ticker website will launch. And that site will be full of educational resources, guest blogs, videos, and a lot more. You'll have the opportunity to subscribe to the monthly newsletter where we'll have guest authors and communicate with me and start a conversation and connect with some other people in the franchise industry and beyond that. We left some teasers in last week's episode with questions like, who is this for? What are the quote-unquote 5 pillars? And definitely what's coming up on the next podcast episodes. I mentioned earlier in that podcast episode that the season is going to consist of 10 to 15 different conversations. Those conversations, if you're wondering who those are for, to answer that first question, you belong here if you sit in your quarterly meetings, if you celebrate your growth of your franchise, if you sit there wondering and are frustrated that your numbers aren't getting any better, this is for you. It's for you, and you belong here. If you have no idea what franchising is, but you hit 3 p.m. every day and you're thinking about the missing link in your career, maybe you're thinking about the missing link in your personal life, you belong here if you use your voice or if you amplify those voices around you that are underrepresented. And if you are looking for your voice and don't know what that is or how to use it, you're in the right place. If you walk down the street or go into your workplace, and you feel like something is holding you back or other people are holding you back because the stereotypes that you face every day, whether it's your skin color, it's neurodivergence, it is, your physical and mental abilities, whatever that may be, this is the place for you, because we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about ways to combat that and learning about what those are. We're going to talk about ways that we might be doing that to other people. Now, to answer that second question, there are 5 core concepts behind the franchise ticker. First, we as a community are here to normalize vulnerability and connection in both work and life. Now, I had to learn how to ask for help a long time ago. My tics, which, by the way, are spelled T-I-C, tic, for those of you who are new to all of this, those tics are not something that I can hide. I can suppress them for a very long time, but at the end of the day, they're just going to come out, and I can't control that. I am a high-performing individual, but struggling with Tourette's, and the conditions that come along with it made me realize early on that I could not walk through this world on my own. So being open and honest and truly just raw in life and work has opened up door after door for me. If we could embrace that mentality as a community, my question is, can we imagine what we could do and who we could be, not just individually, but as a community? Speaking of, I guess, who we could be, the second principle is to collectively encourage women to embrace their inner badasses. And I say that this one doesn't just apply to women. To the men listening to this, there are badass women all around you. And if you recognize them, how are you supporting them? Are you attuned to those women who have that badass inside them and just, need a champion to use their voice? Are you attuned to that? And are you listening? Are you able to see it? And then how are you helping to either facilitate that or to help those women grow? We can do it. We don't need a ton of help. We just need to know that we're a badass. So to the women listening to this, are you being an advocate for yourself? And are you being a champion for other badass women? Because that coming from a man is one thing, but women supporting women and that coming from woman to woman is a whole other ballgame. And perhaps we don't do that enough. Then number 3 goes all in on that idea of championship, but really particularly related to the franchise community. That third thing, we build up new generations in the franchise space through mentorship and leadership by example. Michelle mentioned in the first episode the familiar idea now to us in franchising that franchising is 10 years behind in a lot of capacities in many regards. So why does it have to be? I asked a fellow millennial, I wrote a piece about this actually, and that's the piece that Michelle was talking about in our first conversation. But I had spoken with a fellow millennial, and he told me in 2019 that it will be 10 years before we see significant change in the franchise space toward equity, toward modernized business practices, technology, a lot of other things that had been burning in my head and at the time on my tongue because I was very vociferous about this. But I told him that, I don't have 10 years to wait. I don't. And I don't think we have to, because what would happen if we started now with fervor, fostering entry-level and middle management team members by investing deeply, not just investing, but investing deeply in their futures in franchising? Why are we not pushing harder for franchise education among new franchisees? Because people get into franchising not fully aware of what it is necessarily, or what they're becoming a part of in the larger picture and what they can be and do. And why are we not pushing harder for education of young people in trade schools or franchise-focused associates and bachelor's degree programs? There are those programs out there, but do you even know about them? Do I know about them? And what are we doing to help promote those and build new programs? So if we're talking about equity, this is the fourth thing. For me, when I spoke to my fellow millennial, I spoke from the place of being a woman. I fought to earn equal standing, and not just equal standing, but respect and equal pay. That's been a battle. Even now it's been a battle. But I'm one of the lucky ones too, because I come from a place of privilege. That's why this fourth that's why this fourth pillar is vital. And it's not just vital to me, it needs to be vital to everyone. So number 4, our determined and dedicated effort is to champion diversity, equity, and inclusion in franchising, including the LGBTQ plus community, individuals of all abilities, and people of color. Efforts are underway within these communities themselves and through organizations like the International Franchise Association and other business think tanks and things like that. But we're behind and not enough is being done. The barriers to entry into franchising are high for just specifically, we'll say, for African American entrepreneurs. For many entrepreneurs, who don't look like the people who are selling those franchises, who are giving them financing, all of those things. If you look around industry events, you typically will see a sea of what I would call homogenous faces, right? Homogenous faces and people and thought paths, directions of thoughts. Leadership positions look the same. So as a group, let's amplify LGBTQ, disabled, and BIPOC voices. And then, I guess finally, our mission is to shatter social stigmas about Tourette's and mental health issues, especially in the professional realm. When I was first diagnosed with a major mental health condition, I was 22. And it was a scary thing to discuss in the workplace, especially when I was just, launching into my professional career. And it's still taboo, or I guess at the very least uncomfortable, which is why this is a key principle of the franchise ticker. Like I said, I was terrified to have honest conversations with my leaders and teammates about the parts of my life which impacted my work. And it ended up leaving them in the dark, and it truly created unnecessary ambiguity, I would call it, in our professional relationships and caused problems. So as soon as I started opening up about that, the whole world opened up to me. It changed everything. And on another note of that too, I'm pretty good, but I can't hide every one of my tics at all. On top of that, it's obvious that I struggle. One thing is that I struggle calculating numbers, and that is thanks to a little thing called dyscalculia, which is sort of, I guess, in basic terms, numbers dyslexia. But anyone who knows me also knows that I ask for a lot of accountability on deadlines because, hey, ADHD, it's great. But I do ask for accountability, and I ask for that accountability because over the years I have learned what an amazing person I am, and what I'm really amazing at doing, but I also know what I need extra support on. And I could never really receive that support at work without being honest about my Tourette's, as well as the learning disabilities and the mental health struggles that come along with it. There are a lot of co-occurring conditions with Tourette's, which, throughout this initiative, throughout this time that I will spend in these conversations and talking about this, you'll learn a lot about that. And when the website launches this summer, I'm going to have a whole host of educational resources about mental health advocacy, learning about Tourette's, and learning a lot about those stereotypes and how we can break them down. But, perhaps everyone doesn't deal with Tourette's, and perhaps everyone hasn't had that experience or that struggle of facing a mental health issue. But the point is, really far too often, whatever it is, we ignore or hide our personal battles to our professional detriment. And the franchise ticker, I created the franchise ticker to face this head on, especially how we can, like I said, beat back the stereotypes to thrive. And that's to thrive not just personally, but also professionally. And finally, before I wrap it up, to answer that last question, what to expect in the coming weeks, in the coming months, and what to expect from the franchise ticker. This is a beginning. It's just the beginning of a larger conversation. This season, I will talk to franchise CEOs as expected. I will also talk to the daily grinders, the people that are in those entry-level positions, those that are in the day-to-day, in the trenches, middle management, and the people who have that, have that different perspective that we don't necessarily hear all the time. So we'll talk franchising. We will dive into some complex and uncomfortable issues. And then if y'all know me at all, you know that if I sat down at a bus stop next to somebody, that I would know their life story by the time the bus got there, and vice versa. So we'll talk a lot about just sharing life stories. You can listen to the franchise ticker on most podcast streaming platforms. And then for extra fun, you can watch the live recordings on YouTube. And don't forget to follow at Franchise Ticker on Twitter and Instagram. And that is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have some fun with it, some encouragement, news updates, recommendations, all sorts of stuff. And then the last thing I will say, and I will keep reminding you, but everywhere you go, just spread the word. Spread the word about the conversation. Spread the word about, what our future could be. But you can do that by subscribing, sharing, liking, and commenting. So that is subscribing, sharing, liking, and commenting. And let's go. Let's go, guys. Let's just shake some things up.